I know that I usually try to maintain an alternating schedule between stunts and really crappy jokes when it comes to what I upload weekly, but it is just barely spring outside right now, which means that the ground still looks, smells, feels, and probably tastes like freezer burnt hamburger meat. And on top of that, the sun's out, but there's no clouds and it's not warm, so going outside is dangerous in itself because as soon as you step foot out there, you run the risk of going blind immediately. And if I tried to do a stunt, it would be like doing a backflip onto an iceberg whose agenda was also to tickle you after you land because of the grass. So with that in mind, I'm instead going to do the thing that I think I'm second best at, which is just saying a bunch of horrible things. You know, if you see a spoiler on a car and you don't take a second to marvel in total awe, then you're missing a real opportunity to appreciate the hilarity of the world that we live in. What a lot of people don't realize is that they're witnessing a rare breed of individual who is so dumb that they actually believe that at any point their rolling litter box could lift up off the ground and sail through the air like a Formula One car if they hadn't superglued the vehicular equivalent of virginity insurance to the ass end of it. That has to be the explanation, because the only other one is that they think it looks good, and nobody's that stupid. And the reason why I call car spoilers virginity insurance is because if you have one, and you've somehow convinced another person to have intercourse with you, then you should immediately be owed money because somebody lost a bet. So we've established that cougars are middle-aged women who frequent bars in the hopes of seducing young men into coming home with them in order to stuff whatever they have into wherever there's a hole that actually still works. Now, I believe that pumas and leopards are the younger and older versions of those women respectively, and I've never heard of a lady being called a lioness before, but given the apparent trend, I'd imagine that a lioness is an 80-year-old woman who somehow still convinces a young man to push aside her colostomy bag and ostensibly shove something into somewhere sad and floppy. So I know that these are all jungle cat metaphors up to this point, but that doesn't mean that we can't branch out to describe bar predators with comparisons to other species of carnivorous wild animal. There is a vast, untapped ecosystem of personalities that are as of yet unrepresented. For instance, condors. Condors can be people who wait to the end of the night to devour a few remaining carcasses. Maybe these creatures prey on the far too drunk college student who's been left behind by his or her more sensible friends, picking clean a husk long forgotten by the rest of the world. A vulture is any man who circles one particular female from overhead, watching all night as the weariness of turning down propositions from terrible individuals finally starts to get to her. This guy's got to be just attractive enough that when she's finally so fatigued that she'll take anybody who's mildly pleasant, he can just slink in and convince her to settle for a pity bang in an alleyway. A dolphin could be any individual who tries to impress their potential date with a few tricks, maybe a backflip or a funny joke, but at the end of the night, all they end up doing is leaking some fluid out of a hole. Cobras are anybody who's so drunk that they spit in your face when they talk, and eventually you just start to feel sick. Boa constrictors are people who like you so much that they don't let you get any attention from anybody else. And that is how my grandparents met. Leave a comment if you can come up with any bar predator animal comparisons that I hadn't mentioned. Viewer interactivity. Sometimes I like to read things. I think the only pickup lines that I would ever use would be ones wherein I softly imply that I've lost my will to live, because I think it would be hilarious to see the color drain from a person's face once they realize what I actually just said. Hey, I sure hope you're tighter than my grasp on this existence. What do my wiener and my foot have in common? Well, whether or not you come home with me tonight determines which one I use to push a stool out of the way. That is a disgusting anal sex joke. I don't like when people try to describe something as being like riding a bike, in that it's really easy to learn or you never forget. Because when I was learning to ride a bike, I fell off, my shirt flew up, and I slid across the ground. I had rocks in my back. I promptly forgot any and all knowledge of how to ride one for years, because when the earth treats you like cheese that needs grating, that's just what the fuck happens. So for me, it's like riding a bike means it's gonna take me half a decade and maybe I'll end up having to extract gravel from my skin. Well, then I'm not so sure I want to learn how to play chess anymore. If you ever play chess with me, you better have a great memory or else be really good at controlling your bodily functions, because if you get up to urinate at any point, you can be damn sure I'm going to be taking some of your pieces off the board. No, dude, I took your queen last turn. Remember? I said checkmate. You must not have heard me. You know, one of the first rules of poker is don't play your hand, play the person sitting across from you, so just keep that in mind the next time I yell boo really loudly while you're trying to resituate a Jenga piece. Hey, I got a shotgun at home with 2 loaded barrels. What do you say you come back to my place and I load a 3rd one?